So excited for take 2 of the free game interview series. So for those of you that watched part 1, we had Ulrich Malagi. He's currently coaching at Texas Tech. It was a good perspective to get a college coach's side of the recruiting process and what kids need to do, how they can get on their radar, how college coaches find people. But one of the pillars of the away team sports when I started it was inspiration, motivation, and education. And when I met you, we chatted. We were in my office for like an hour, maybe longer. And your story did all 3. It was inspirational, it was motivational, it was educational. Because it's important for guys to understand the different paths and routes that it takes to get to being what they all say they want to be, right? Like every kid, I want to be a Division I player. I want to be a pro, right? And from my perspective, we want to help those guys reach their goals and dreams, but we want them to become fathers. We want them to become husbands. We want them to become, victors of their circumstances and not victims of that. And hearing your story, I was immediately like, I got to share this story with the world, right? Like, everybody has a story, and I think a lot of us walk around and people never know our stories. They never know anything beyond face value. So extremely excited. I've got Antonio Graves with me, man. It's funny. I was talking to some people, and you led the French division in scoring at one point. So you've done some things. Like you're, a lot of guys don't. When I met you, you were real like laid back about your experiences and your playing career, but you've got some accolades behind you. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about that. And I'm glad that you're here. You made yourself available for us, and we're gonna have some fun. So let's start with. Obviously basketball, you've been playing all your life, right? So let's go all the way back to when it began for you. Like what was the first thing that made you say, you know what, I want to hoop?
Well, I say growing up, I was actually I grew up in like a football household, but not like you may think. My grandparents, my grandmother, my great-grandmother and my grandmother loved football.
And
my mom.
Usually the moms be like, no, my baby can't.
Love football. So, so I grew up loving football. The first, second, third grade. My friends were really good in basketball. All my friends in the neighborhood were good at basketball. So 4th grade, I started playing basketball. One of my best friends' dad was the coach. And I would only get in or going somebody out. I was that guy. But I was just happy to be a part of my friends and be with my friends. And then that summer after the 4th grade, it's crazy how things start to click for you. Like, man, I want to be better so I can be like my friends, so I can just, like it's a social thing. I have to be just as good as them so I can, be in those circles and conversations anyway. So I started to work out. I changed schools, went to a different school. I ended up becoming like the main player or the best player on our school, at our elementary time, 5th grade. We sucked, but I was the best player. So believe it or not, we played the team I left, which was always the best team in elementary, and I hit a buzzer beater. Unbelievable. I hit a buzzer beater. I like double dribble or something, travel. There's a big fuss about it in the city. Like, it's a big thing. And we won, and ever since then, I kind of like, if I do this every summer, I'm just gonna continue to get better and better, and eventually be better than them. That was like my thing, like to either be with them or be better than them. And I kind of fell in love with basketball at that point because of the reward I saw from the work from that very young age.
That's awesome to hear, knowing kind of how your career progressed, right? And understanding that, that adversity is what made you stronger in the game, right? Being on the end of the bench and saying, hey, I want to be better, or I want to be just as good. I want to be, part of the crew and be able to compete. And so I think that that's something that obviously me knowing kind of the next stages for you, the next steps for you, helped to kind of shape and mold your work ethic. Let's talk a little bit about Mansfield, being where you're from. Kind of what was the, when you grew up, right, and when you were thinking about those next steps for you, were college basketball, was that something that was in your radar, in your vision, or kind of what was your mindset, when the game got going for you?
Well, I think it was around these time periods. So when it really got serious, it's like ninth grade. I think when started to talk about AAU, and started to think about it's like beyond your city or beyond that. But Mansfield was like always competitive, and we used to have this tournament. We still do it every summer. It's called the Brooks and Holmes Memorial, and it's a summer tournament where teams come from all over the state sometimes, and they compete in this summer tournament, a weekend tournament. And that was one of the things that kind of helped me to see that, it could be, there's levels. There's always levels, and you start off, just being a kid and wanting to play with the grown-ups and play in this tournament and shine in this tournament to, making a team in seventh grade and cuts and stuff like that. So basketball was always like the hoop sessions at the park. It was always a thing that inspired me, I guess, because the main park was right around the corner from my house, and it was like it would be packed around, the fence area or whatever before. So I think at that point, like I'm saying before AAU, that's what started to inspire me even more, to knowing that there's levels to this, and you want to get to that next level. No matter how big or small it is, you just want to get to that next level.
You touched on levels. So, you said the pre-AAU, so now we get to AAU, right? And you were with All Ohio Red at first, right?
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about, that process, and, playing obviously Mansfield Senior, so a couple years before you, there have been some Division I guys, but they were all kind of like low to mid-level, mid-major level guys. Talk to me a little bit about your experience playing, on the circuit, and how AAU kind of helped you to evolve a little bit from that, levels standpoint, and playing against better competition.
Well, what's interesting about that is that I felt like we had so much talent, and I know this for every city. Guys that it's guys on the street that may be better than some NBA players type thing, and it was like we had so much talent in our high school, and it was just unbelievable to me that they never achieved that next level or got a scholarship until around my, class of 98, 99, I started to see guys actually make it to Division I. But then it was always low to mid-major. And to me, I thought they were always just as talented, because you see them play other teams around the state, Division I teams, high school teams, and guys would be ranked and stuff, and we see them competing, they're just as good. I'm like, well, how is he going here? And the guy from Mansfield, I just watched it. One guy had 20, our guy had 20. So what's the difference? So, my brother, who invested a lot in me, he was like the visionary. He was like, well, how can we do it like nobody else done it? At this point, he's like, and one thing I think they were missing, all the other guys, was this AAU piece where you can get national recognition. And the fact that we had actually like a subdivision of All Ohio in Mansfield. Because All Ohio is red is the elite level, and then it's like green, blue. I think we were like the lowest, like maroon. So my brother took me to the division we had in Mansfield. He asked the coach, do you think my brother can play on All Ohio Red? He said, no chance. He looked me and my brother in my face, told no chance. Those guys are ranked #1 in the country for one, or in the state. They're top 5 in the country. They got guys, being recruited, UCLA, Duke, all the elite schools. It's no chance from Mansfield.
That's all you need to hear, huh?
Well, that's all my brother needed to hear. That's all he needed to hear. He's such a visionary and a go-getter that he's the definition of anything is possible. You can't tell him you can't accomplish anything. So he said, okay. We drove up to Columbus, the headquarters or whatever, where All Ohio Red was, and we tried out. Now in the tryout, I didn't really make the team, but I competed and I showed my worth. Came back and my brother put together an AAU team to go up there and play in one of the tournaments. And then I played against All Ohio Red again, and I showed out. I competed, and then they kind of recruited me to come play. So that, I mean, I forget your question. I feel like I'm rambling.
No. But, hey, we just talking, man.
But this is kind of like this, how my story evolved, where I knew that at that point, AAU was really serious. The sponsorships, Nike, the whole ordeal surrounding it was like, wow, like this is, and you can tell these guys eat, sleep, breathe basketball. And I feel like that was like the environment I needed to be in. My brother knew that because no one else in my city took it as serious as I did.
So you played with All Ohio Red, under recruited, right? You kind of flew under the radar a little bit from a recruiting standpoint. And your brother saw and said, hey, you know what? We got to do something different, right? So at what point did you guys make the decision, okay, we're going to go to OBC, Ohio Basketball Club?
Well, that was after, that was after my last year of playing with All Ohio, which has been this 11th grade summer, going into my senior year. I didn't have at the end of my senior year, we had mid-major schools, and we still didn't have, which our goal was high major. And said, well, what's the next route? Because it's about accomplishing the goal. We're not gonna it was like, we're not settling. So what's the next route we can take? He searched up, prep school, you get another year of eligibility. Go to prep school, you still, even though you graduated high school, you still like a, reclass senior. Yeah. And that will give you another eligibility to go back out on the circuit, AAU. So when we did that, somehow he got in touch with Mike Duncan and told us to come up. And I had kind of established some type of, credibility from playing with All Ohio Red, and told me to come up. And they gave me a spot on there, and he assured me I would have to work my way up. The roster was already established. They were set to already go to their tournaments and everything, but they gave me a shot.
So how was it kind of, you talked about your brother being a visionary and believing, right? And it kind of set the tone for, hey, we're not settling, right? We set this goal from day one. We're going to accomplish this goal. Was it scary at times, or was there a lot of people that say, hey man, you should just take the mid-major, you should just take the
man, that's the most difficult part for me now in hindsight, is that almost everybody in my city was like, there's no way, because nobody's ever done it, right? And it's just like, man, you about to get a free scholarship, like just be happy about that. Like that's hard enough as it is, but it's like, if you come this far, why not go for the the whole shoot for the moon? If you miss, you're still amongst the stars. Like, go for it. Right. That type thing, and nobody ever did that. That drove me. It's like, and I just really felt that, man, the guys that went before me in my high school were a lot more talented than me, as far as size, just skill level. And I feel like I had to work for everything. And so it was at that point, I guess, that my brother, he was like, look, if we gonna settle, we gonna settle for going big, man. That's the bottom line, and that's what I'm thinking about my brother now, which is getting me a little emotional. But yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So Mike Duncan, you guys got in contact with Mike Duncan. We all know how Mike gets. Mike's a straight shooter. Yeah. Mike told you, say, hey, you know what? We're established, and that team was loaded, right? Like that team was, that was a pretty special team. That was the
Jamar Butler.
Yeah.
He was a sophomore. He had already committed to Cincinnati, and then he decommitted and went to Ohio State. But they had some guys. Yeah. So
you go out onto the circuit. Right, you're viewing this year as kind of like, okay, this is my last chance of playing on that big circuit, that big AAU circuit, that circuit that you had already realized was the difference maker and kind of the bridge between local or even regional and national. And that national exposure, that high level that you were looking to accomplish. And you get out there with All Ohio, or with OBC at this point, and you find yourself in a tough situation, right? You find yourself in a situation where there were times where you were on the bench and you were watching, and at that point, was it like starting to kind of the outside voices and the negativity that you've been hearing, was it starting to ring in your head like, you know what, maybe I should have settled, or maybe I should have taken something?
Yeah, well, I just, it was really at one point I just wanted to give up completely because I knew it was like the last chance. And I remember my brother's like, man, you came too far. I'm not letting you quit. I'm not letting you quit.
So, Jamie Dixon, and I read an article where he talked about you. And he talked about when he knew that you were his type of kid, all right? And he was watching a game. And in this article, he says he wasn't knocking down long threes. He didn't have these big crowd shaking dunks. The thing that made him see that you were his guy was when you were on the court, you played your role, you played hard, you did everything that, you had all the intangibles, but the thing that stood out to him the most is when you weren't on the court. Yeah. In that AAU world where a lot of guys, it's about them and they're for themselves, right? And you were sitting on the end of the bench, clapping and cheering for your teammates and encouraging your teammates. And he talked about it. He said, that's when I knew that was my type of guy, right? So, how did you find the kind of, or is that just your personality? Is that just who you are as a person to be, just happy and excited for everybody else and know that, hey, this is bigger than me? Or what kind of kept you locked in and engaged in times where you be on the bench versus just being like, man, this is...
It's just always been the underdog. Always, being from my hometown and having the biggest dream that nobody else could dream and going for it and having everybody count you out from your head coach to your teammates on high school level. Then overcoming that and making it on the AU team, all Ohio Red in the country, that no one said you could do it, and establish yourself on that level and competing on that level, and just the small victories of just getting in the game. I guess it started in 4th grade when I think about it, and when you brought that to my attention. It was just like those small victories. If I could just get in the game, if I could just make the team,
right?
That's a small victory. Now I know I belong. Now what's the next step after you know you belong and you're on the team? Now it's to compete for playing time. Yep. So it was just, I guess, that that repetition of overcoming those obstacles and persevering through that and being patient, and again, just my brother being the voice of reason and really establishing having high character and waiting your turn, but being prepared for when your turn. I think that's the most important thing, was he stressed, just be prepared for when you're going to get your shot. Just be prepared for when they call your number. So that's how that came about. And yeah, when I read that Coach Dixon said that again, you started to say that, I started to tear up, because man, those moments are really, you're really at the brink, you at the precipice. You one thought can be I'm done. Right. I'm done. I've tried so hard. Why does this guy, he's effing up off the court? You notice he's disrespecting the coach. He's still playing. Here I am. You see me working hard. You see me competing. You see, you know what I'm saying? So it's just you trying your best to show, just give me a chance. Just give me a chance. And it's not on you to make that call. You just really have to wait your turn, but be prepared for when it comes.
So it rings true to, you never know who's watching.
Yeah, absolutely.
You never know who notices. And character is one of those things that, you can't turn it on and turn it off, right? And Jamie Dixon was able to see that, and he was able to see it to the point of, a scholarship spot came open literally hours before it's time to start school, right? So fall of 2003, you get that call from Jamie Dixon saying, hey man, I got a spot for you. What's going through your mind?
Well, yeah, to backtrack just a little bit, after that, those tournaments, the last AU tournaments, the Adidas Classic and all of that in Vegas with OBC, when we came home, we still didn't have those offers. So he's like, okay, well, we go to prep school. And that's another chance. So I was signed up, ready to go to prep school. And literally, like you said, it was probably 2 weeks. And I get that call, man. And it's just like, really? Like, yeah, we want you to come. And I'm like, me? You know? And like, you're gonna redshirt me? I said, no, you're gonna play right away. And it's just mind blowing because it's just like, at that moment, you're like, wow, it all paid off. Like, God is amazing. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's like your faith is rewarded. And it's because, I think it's because of that, just staying true to who you are and not letting those moments change you.
Long-winded, running through this life like it was mine. Never settling, but setting every goal high.
So your career didn't end at Pitt, right? It's continued and it's continued to go. But one thing, and you know, if you're not comfortable talking about it, that's fine too, but we talked a little bit about your mom and, right, and her fighting her battles. And how did that encourage you and kind of let you know that, hey, you know what? If she can fight this battle, right? This battle a lot of people don't win, right? I equate it to, you know, and obviously coming up in that 80s, 90s era, you know, when the crack epidemic hit our communities. And it's almost like, you know, they talk about the war on drugs, and to me, it's almost like Iraq, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of people didn't make it back from Iraq. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, when they made it back, they weren't the same. So obviously fighting is in your family, because your mom fought a battle and won, right? Mm-hmm. And you had that support from your brother to guide, navigate you through. But you know, talk to me a little bit about how that inspired you, and her battles inspired you to win.
I think that was the foundation. My mom's battle from drug addiction. She's now 25 years, 26 something years clean. That, I think I was in middle school, from like 4th, 5th grade through 6th grade. My mom was like, I knew visibly it was like addicted to some type of substance, man, crack, cocaine, whatever, whatever it was. I knew it was bad. But she actually went to prison. I was in 6th grade and I moved with my dad, and that was really traumatic for me because I couldn't really understand. Like, I knew she was gone, but I didn't know she was gone. Like, and I had a moment, and my brother used to remind me of this moment. He said, "Man, you broke down." And he said, "This is when he kind of took hold of me." He said, "I broke down one day." And it was like, "Man, I just want to see my mom." And he said, I used to write her letters. I couldn't remember this though, because I'm like, again, I was just, and I remember it was a really bad episode I had at my dad's, at the time, his girlfriend's son. We got into a fight. My dad wasn't there. It was just really chaotic, and I ran away. I ran back to my grandmother's house where we grew up in. And that's when my brother was like, I got you. And then my mom told me this story. He told her about that, and she was like, okay, I gotta get clean. She said, I gotta get clean, because I gotta get my boy. So when she got out of prison, she was facing like 10 years or something crazy, she told me. She only did like 9 months or something. She got out, and she started her recovery program. And then she was going to church. She was working 2 jobs. She was going to church like Monday, Wednesday, Sunday, like, and I just was with her. I was like, I'm never like losing sight of my mom again. And just to see her go through that. And then I think the ultimate like triumph was to see her become a drug and alcohol counselor. I was like, wow, this woman is the epitome of strength. And I watched her go through domestic violence, and on top of the overcoming the drug addiction, and I was like, I have to be resilient. Like, you can't, it's impossible for me to give up. It's like, it's literally to watch that, her strength, man, is a testament to my life, absolutely, and definitely that's the foundation.
That's awesome. So all these strong examples of.
I don't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I drew from that. That's what I was saying. I mean, you know, it wasn't only. Cause I know I made a statement. There's a lot of. I saw a lot of their mistakes, and I wanted to do the opposite. But I also drew from the strength.
100%.
Because being a crack addict or going through being in an environment where there's alcoholism and fights and stuff, and you see these people bounce back and they're smiling and they're jolly, that is something. To me, that is something. Like they didn't just go off and wither away or die or commit suicide. You know, mental health is like high now. Like I didn't see that. I seen them bounce back and act like nothing ever happened. So I was like, whoa. Right. Like, so I drew from that, like, you can definitely overcome anything. Like,
that's awesome. So it was a big piece of encouragement for you when you're sitting on the end of the bench at OBC, and you're like, man, like this is. At that point, you're like, she didn't give up. How can I? Right?
Man, that I cannot even front. I didn't think about that. I didn't think nothing about my mom. I just thought about how time and time again. And to me, I think for some reason, this time was so obvious. Right. It was just so, because we were in Vegas, man. And I don't really try to put guys out there. The guys are just, man, bro. And then come back and it was showing like they were sluggish. They were out all night, come back and they were sluggish. And I wasn't that, you know, my brother's like, no, can't hang out with them, can't hang out. You gotta stay focused. You're not gonna get away with the same stuff. You just gotta, so, and that even wanted to.
Right.
So it was just obvious. It was just, and I still was, I mean, at that point, I'm like, they disrespecting this coach. They, even on top of it, they playing bad. Okay, they be playing bad. They're not, and we're losing. We you know, come on, man. And this is the last tournament, so all of that, it was like.
So you had every reason to hang your head.
I had every reason. I had every reason to hang my head. I had every reason to give up, and I didn't.
So that, I mean, listen, that in and of itself, right? So we talk about inspiration, motivation, and education, right? So obviously that's inspirational, right? Because that tells a kid, hey, no matter what your situation is, whether you get 2 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever, whether it's scoring 2 points, 20 points, you can always make an impact, and you can always catch somebody's eye. So there's inspiration from that, right? There's motivation, because it can motivate somebody to say, you know what? He didn't give up. I can't give up either. I've got to continue to work, continue to put my head down and do what I've got to do and continue to go, but also educationally, right? So it can teach guys that, you know, what you're doing on the bench
matters, man.
Matters big time, right? Like college coaches are not just looking at what's happening between the lines, but they're looking at, you know, how you're behaving, like you said, off the court, you know, at night, you know, and how that's transpiring and coming into your performance that next day, right? How you're, you know, encouraging your teammates, how you're, you know, showing that selflessness, showing that part of being a team. And those are, I mean, that's huge. And that's part of, when I think about it, right, I talk to my guys and I talk to them about being a pro. And being a pro is not just getting paid to play basketball or getting paid to play your sport. Being a pro is in your mindset. It's the way you carry yourself. It's the way you go about your daily business every single day. So it's funny, right, and I call it ironic, that your behaviors and your actions were that of a pro with that team at OBC, and that led to you becoming a pro when it was time to leave Pitt. So you graduated from Pitt, you got the degree that you know, in your mind said, hey, that's a non-negotiable. That's something that you were going to do because it wasn't something you had seen. You and your brother accomplished the goal of playing Division I high major. You know, you played at Pitt, you played in the Big East. You played against guys like Ben Gordon, Jerry McNamara. I mean, you were against the best of the best, right? Best, yeah. So you accomplished all the things that have been said in front of you, okay? How was that transition from college to playing professionally? Or was that something that, so for a lot of guys, right, that goal ended at college, right? That was where we set the bar at. Was it, you know, the bar set higher? Did your brother? That was it,
yeah. That's a very interesting point. My sophomore year, I had a really I had a moment where I was like, wow. I had like a wow moment, like I made it. And I didn't know what to do. Like I made it, I had accomplished it. That was our only goal, was to high major Division I basketball. My sophomore year, I was starting. We were ranked. We had it was Coaches versus Cancer Classic at the Madison Square Garden. We played Memphis, who was ranked at the time. This is when John Calipari was at Memphis. Won, had a good game. They like tail saying my name. Doris Burke. I was like, yo. And that was it for me. I was like, there's nothing else up. I could like really die and I'd be like, my life, I'm good. But life doesn't stop.
Right.
Life doesn't stop. And I kind of didn't know what to do with that, to be honest. I didn't know where to go from there if you already accomplished this and you had overcame so much and you finally, you're there. It's like, what do you do? So, man, I hit a slump. I hit a really bad slump coming to my junior year. I had a solid sophomore year. I had some injuries, whatever, but I was kind of on the radar. I was up and coming. The coaches was believing in me more. So my brother, he looked up IMG. He's like, well, where can we go to expose you to pro talent, pro level training? He found IMG. Sends me to IMG that summer going to my junior year.
Joe Bunasar?
Joe Bunasar. Joe Bunasar. My dude, Dan, he's a Pittsburgh native. Dan, what's Dan's last name? Anyways, he was like kind of the bridge because he was from Pittsburgh. When I get to IMG, they had me work out on the high school level. I was working out with Brandon Rush, who was I don't know if he was a freshman there at the time, but working out with Brandon Rush. I'm like, oh, I think I'm one of these high school kids. So it was again, I'm like, man, this is disrespectful. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna show him. It was like, I'm gonna show him. And I worked my way up. By the third day, I was there for 2 days. By the third, fourth day, I was allowed to work out with the pros. I was allowed to pick up the pros. I remember Chauncey being there, Sebastian Telfer, Al Harrington. It was just crazy 5-on-5. And Chauncey was like, man, you can do it. I remember Chauncey was telling me I can play pro. So at that moment, I said, oh, we're going to the next level. We're going to and this is what happened to me. I come to my junior year. When I go back to Pitt, can't tell me nothing. Can't tell me nothing.
With Chauncey.
Yeah. And I'm holding my own. The guy, listen, you can't tell me nothing. This is my spot. You know in basketball.
And this is 2006, right? So
yeah.
This is, Chauncey was at really
your peak level. This is the Pistons. Yeah. So I come back to Pitt, man, and in college they always recruiting the next guy. So freshman Keith Benjamin, I never forget, from Mount Vernon, New York. He at my neck, and one thing about the college, I was around a lot of New York guys. They're really boisterous. They think New York is everything. You're not from New York, whatever. But so I'm from Mansfield, Ohio. So I always got a target on my back, like I don't belong.
Right.
So he's at my neck. We at each other's neck every day. We guard heavy too. We had got Mansfield from Brooklyn, our point guard heavy. And I could never separate myself enough, but I was like, I already been here 2 years, so I'm good. Coach Dixon comes out, we're so deep, we're gonna go 10 deep. So, preseason, 5 guys, everybody getting equal time. One of us, I had a slump. Missed some shots, made some mistakes. Keith was up, he had a good game. Now I'm down in the depth chart. That sent me into a spiral, cause this is unbelievable. And I started to think negative about everything. I was like, I can't believe now once we got into conference play, now I'm coming off the bench.
So once again, that internal.
Bro, that internal battle. And I felt entitled. I felt entitled, felt disrespected. I felt like coach was doing me wrong, all of that. And that just made me spiral more. I stopped caring about working out extra, because it's just like, now I was battling an internal battle. I was like, yeah, I want to make it professional. Professional was extra at this point, because I already accomplished being at Pitt.
Right.
I only knew I could make it professional because
Chauncey told you.
Chauncey told me.
But in your mind,
and I compete. You know, I was there. I'm competing.
But in your mind, you're telling yourself,
I don't make
it.
Exactly.
It's okay, because I accomplished what we set out
Exactly.
to do.
Exactly. And that was bad for my teammates. It was bad for myself. My grades slipped. Everything. And at one point, I went to see a sports psychologist, and I was like, man, no, I can't be talking to no shrink. I am the shrink, right? That's how I was like, no. And that my junior year, I hit a really, it was probably one of my best years, honestly. My junior year, I started to peak right around tournament time, Big East tournament time. I had my best game of my career in Madison Square Garden against Louisville. We were down 20. I was part of bringing us back. I had high score, I had 23 points, dunk at the end, ESPN. So I started to go back into myself and tap into more of my spiritual side. The foundations my mom had gave me a book that I had never read. When I first went to college, she had gave me the Purpose Driven Life book. I never read it until that moment. Until that moment after I seen that shrink, and I was like, nah. And I opened up that book, and I started to redefine myself. And I started to go back inside to character building, faith, perseverance, not being entitled, positivity, those things. And by the end of the year, I was starting again, and that carried us into the tournament. And ultimately, to cap off your question, after that, though, after I graduated, I had a solid senior year. After I graduated, I didn't have any offers again.
So back to?
Yeah, back to that. I was more at peace with it, though. I was more at peace with it because now I know it's like you can't act out because you don't have any offers. You tried your best, whatever. But I was still working out hard, waiting for something to come up. Nothing came up. So I decided to go back to school, actually. And while I was going back to school, that was a really humbling experience. You don't get the same perks as when you was when you was on the team.
No
you can hang out with the team, you don't get no training table. Your stipend ain't the same. You know, it's just, I was on my dude food time, man. I was like, man, and then you walking around on campus and you're not on the team. So you know, you have a sense of you know you're not that guy, you know, and that was humbling.
You think that was more internal though? You think that was more kind of that same?
Yeah, it was probably internal. Looking back, it was probably internal, but because I didn't feel it. I didn't feel like I knew I wasn't a part, but I didn't feel it either. So it was just like, but I didn't think it was a negative thing. I just kind of embraced it. Like, it is what it is. Man, so I'm walking from class one day and this kid coming to me, yo, Graves, you got drafted. Man, come on, man, stop playing. What are you talking about? You got drafted in a CBA. I mean, all right, man. And I said, no, it's pretty cool. They have a new CBA team here. It's going to be a semi-professional team. You got drafted. I'm like, all right, whatever. I brush him off. I get a call from the coach. Like, yeah, we drafted you, like, second round. Like, and I felt disrespected again. Like, second round, CBA, semi-pro. I just talked to Chauncey. I worked on whatever, you know. I'm not playing no semi. In my head, I'm not playing semi-pro. So I told him that. I said, Coach, respectfully, I don't think I'm gonna play basketball anymore. I don't think it's for me anymore. I'm, continue my education. Sorry to hear that, man. Just think about it. It's all right. I was still working out heavy though. I was with the guys sometimes in the gym and everything. So I was ready. So he called me back and I said, you know what? If you work around my class schedule and y'all can throw me some, extra money to help me with my rent and stuff like that, I'll come. All right, well, training camps, just go there. It was me and two other guys had graduated from Pitt. Carl Krauser, he was the star player when I was at Pitt, and John DeGroat, who was a guy from JUCO. They had three of us. They used us as the face. Draw attraction, draw tickets. none of us was getting no playing time. Because this league, CBA, used to be the original like D League, I guess, at one point. So they already had their own established players, these vets. But this is like, to me, I feel like these guys, like we were killing these guys. It was like the 40 and over club or something. That's how that league felt. I'm sorry, but it was a respected league, a respected semi-pro league. And we weren't getting in. So I'm like, I'm cool. That's cool. We're not getting in. Like they tripping. I'm like, I ain't tripping about this. Cause I don't have many expectations. I'm just doing it. Give me something to do. That's how I was looking at it. Like, give me something to do. I'm still working. I'm still hooping. We're down in the game. Who you think get in? I run off. 20, boom, brought us back. We lost, brought us back within 2 or something. We lost. Starting from then on, now I'm dropping 30 every night. They like, you about to be rookie of the year. By the midway point, I started getting calls from overseas. And and the coach was like, you know, you're gonna be rookie of the year. I don't think you should take these offers. You for sure get more money if you stay. I was like, no, I'm gone. I accepted this offer from France, First Division France, and man, my pro career took off from there. It was. I think what was amazing was being able to play, because we played a lot of our games in the in our arena at Pitt, at the Peterson. So, you know, just being, you know, Coach Dixon was coming to our games. The guys, you know, that's still on the team coming to our games. DeJuan Blair and those guys. So that was cool, and I was just, yeah, that was probably the easiest league I ever played in. But it gave me, yeah. So
it was like that AAU year.
Man, bro, it was like, man, I've done this so many times. They were tripping. I'm like, man, it's gonna be a game. We're gonna be losing.
It was OBC all over again.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So France, First Division France. Then where'd you go after that?
I went to Turkey, First Division Turkey. The interesting thing about France, though, like absolutely solidified my professional career. I had so much backed up in me, right? Mm-hmm. So I was just in college, I was more of a spot up shooter, defender, but I could score. Right. But we just was loaded, man. And this is just the highest level. It's just really hard to separate yourself to the highest level. So respect. People think they could just play NBA. Yeah. They ask me, hey, you want to play NBA? Man, do you understand these guys? These are freaks of nature. Like, you don't understand. So, France, man, I just started off hot. I was just hot, and I'm killing everything. And the one game that solidified me was we were on the road against one of the top EuroLeague teams, #1 team in France. In their house, I dropped 40, and we won. And it was against one of my old teammates at Pitt, Chevy Troutman. He was on the team, and he was like, yo, Tom, I didn't know you can play like that. I didn't know you can go like that. He was so happy for me. And all my teammates, because we had a guy that had an ex-NBA guy, and I had a great group of guys around me, just like veterans that looked out for me. And so it was really supportive. It was like, man, you just blew up. And sure enough, I started getting phone calls from different agents sending me gifts. I got some scouts from Miami the Miami Heat. So I had a lot of trials that summer with the Heat, the Knicks, and the Cavs actually that summer. And Miami invited me to training camp, Coach Spoelstra, and yeah, man, that was wild. That was wild. Like I tasted the NBA, and I was just like, yo. This is. So
you had success on a level bigger than what you even dreamed about when it all started back in Mansfield, right? The goal was to play high major Division I, right? Okay. And the game of basketball allowed you to be able to get an education, to get your college education, which is something that just wasn't a norm for you, for your family, for even your area. So the game of basketball and the dream that you and your brother had got you your college education. Helped you reach your original dream, which is high major Division I. Allowed you to play at the highest level. You know, you made those NBA training camps and you were spoke about in that circle. You competed against Chauncey and those guys. It allowed you to travel and see the world. Right? So your brother had those dreams that were large enough that sometimes you were like, man, I can't wear this. This don't fit me. This is too big. It's uncomfortable. People are laughing at me. People are saying like, I shouldn't be here, or I can't do this, or this is too big for me. And he was right there at all times to tell you, like, nah, this fits you.
My brother, dang, he's the ultimate big brother. He was more than that. He was a father, he was a friend, a coach, an agent. It's like, he is the ultimate protector. So he shielded me so much from the outside noise. Cause he was the outward expression of like the driving force that I had to be successful or achieve that dream. And I say he's the outward expression because I was quiet. I just did what I was told. He believed so much, and he pointed me in a direction, I just go. And man, I can't explain like how words I can't put into words how big of a impact and force he was in my life. Like you said, taking me just saying, bro, I want to play for the dude. I want to be on TV. I want grandma to see me play on TV. Him taking that literal, and like, you can't. Yeah. You're a kid. I'm a kid at the time. I'm a kid. It's lofty. It's like dreamy, and that's cool. You don't really think it's achievable. You don't know if it's achievable or not. It's not that you doubt it. You just don't know. Like, and it's like he always had certainty. He never wavered. And his faith impacted me so much. It's like, I just used to think, you crazy. Like we're gonna go there? You talked to who today? Hey, yeah, one day he said he had talked to Arizona. Like, how? I just called him. I just talked to the coach. Like, and then he had made a good relationship with Cincinnati, where Bob Huggins was there, and Keith LeGree. Cincinnati came to one of my high school games. That was a big thing. That's like probably the biggest school that ever stepped in our gym. Just because he just made that relationship, made that connection. He believed. Oh, I went on a visit to, like, it was like, I can't even, bro, I'm really at a loss for words, the type of person he was to see me through like that, to also, he's the epitome of unconditional love. The times I didn't want to work out, he didn't stop. The times that I made it hard for him because I'm like, really, like, I can't just go ride bikes with my friends? No, do these drills.
And you were mad.
You told me you want to go, you ain't gonna go to Division I riding bikes. AI playing Kobe night, why aren't you watching that? Duke playing Maryland, where you at? Why ain't you sitting down? I thought those, when he was tripping on me about stuff like that, I thought that was like, bro, you tripping? Like, I gotta sit down and watch a game because I said I want to go play Division I, and I'm not gonna go to Division I. Exactly. Because you need to internalize what you want to become. You need to consume it. And obviously it wasn't until years later that I understood, the way he was pushing me and why he was pushing me that way. So, man, again, I forget your question, but just talking about my brother, man, what's amazing about him is that he's like that for everybody. Like, his funeral was packed. It was packed and filled with people and testimonies. Like, Man, he did this for me. It's one guy like, man, I work at the post office now, man. I'm married now because your brother told me to do this, this, and that. I'm an engineer now because, man, your brother, he researched this for me. He's just that type of person. So, I don't know, man. Like, the dream, it being bigger than me, was because he saw that, I think he saw that he wanted different for me, man. And he said that too. He wanted different for me than the environment we grew up in. He didn't feel like he had those same opportunities with, you know, growing up in a single parent household and dysfunctional household or environment. He didn't feel like he had those same opportunities, but he didn't make those right choices. So he's like, I'm not gonna let my little brother. And he just shielded me, man. He protected me in ways I didn't know until now. And he knew that anything was possible. I don't know how he knew that, but
he knew you were a champion. He knew you were a winner, and he knew that the world was going to give you those obstacles, those tests.
I remember what you're talking about now. This season, this past season in the championship. Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. So he prepared you to be a champion. He prepared you to be a winner, right? And now, you know, here you are in a place where you can look back, and there's not many people that can say, not only did I accomplish the goals that we set out, but I accomplished goals that we didn't even know.
Extra.
We didn't even know. Those weren't even on our radar
Yeah,
as something that we wanted to accomplish. And now, once again, we go back to inspiration, motivation, and education, right? And the ability to show guys that come from places like you come from, not just Mansfield, right? So it's not just limited to Mansfield, but cities all over the country that look like Mansfield and feel like Mansfield, right? And these people, these kids can now look at you and say, doesn't matter what the circumstances are. Doesn't matter how many people don't believe in me. Doesn't matter that I don't believe in myself at times.
Yeah.
The reality is, all it takes is one person to put their arm around you and say, you know what, Tony, you got this. Like, we can do this. Like, no, I'm not letting you quit on yourself. I'm not letting you give up. And that's why it was so important for me, for us to have this conversation. And I almost forgot the camera was here, right? It's like, it's just a conversation between two brothers that, you know, connected on that level.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important that people know, people see and hear your story. So, you know, I was thinking of how I would end, right? How I would close. And I think I'm gonna go back to 4th grade Antonio, right? So I'm gonna go back to, you know, that 12-year-old boy that was playing with his friends, and he wants to be a part. He wants to compete. He wants to have a seat at the table and belong, right? So 12-year-old Antonio. So I want us to envision that the camera there is 12-year-old Antonio looking at you. What would you tell 12-year-old Antonio?
You only look at the camera?
Yeah, what piece of advice would you tell Antonio that he doesn't understand how far this life's gonna lead him? He doesn't understand, you know, what's ahead of him and what's there for him. What do you tell
You are like Yolanda Pixel Life.
What do
You are like Yolanda Pixel Life.
I promise.
What do I tell him?
Yeah, what do you tell him?
Everything's gonna be okay. Continue to
There's a 12-year-old Antonio on the other side of that camera.
I know.
And the strength that you've had to persevere and fight through and be successful. be successful in ways that 12-year-old Antonios don't even know how to dream that far, right? That glass ceiling standing over their head, and they don't understand that it's not just going to come because you want it. It's not just going to come because it looks good on TV. There's a lot of work that goes into it. There's a lot of opponents you're going to face, both ones wearing other colored jerseys, ones that you don't even see coming, ones that are excited.
The best advice to him is that I was overseas in the playoffs this past season, again, on that championship journey. I had a friend, that same best friend I told you about, he was really good on that 4th grade team. His dad was the coach. He was feeling really depressed and said, really down about life, right? And I think I'm reflecting on the advice that I gave him. I feel like I gave him a lot of advice. We talked a lot, more than we have in a while, like over the course of my professional career. But I told him, I looked up to you. I said, bro, I always looked up to you because you was always like that. I feel like he was the ideal kid. He was good in sports. He got good grades. He had both parents. I always looked up to you. And I told him to go back to the kid and embrace your childhood, embrace that kid spirit, that kid-like spirit, that dreamy spirit. Because I think for us, at that time, I'm sorry, but 12-year-old Antonio, continue to embrace the child in you, continue to dream, because that's a happy space. Nobody can tell you your dreams can't come true. That's the reality. The reality is dreams do come true. And you have to keep that childlike spirit, because children, they don't care what reality is.
Right.
They create it. Children create it. And that's what makes anything possible. And that's why, obviously, the youth is so important. And to my friend, I said, that's why I told him, I said, man, you're an awesome person. Because you were that type of kid that could do everything. And you can still do everything if you get back to that child in you. And I think, to my 12-year-old self, continue to embrace that child in you and continue to, everything's gonna be okay, and keep your dreams alive, believe in your dreams, and have fun with it.
That's awesome. Hey, man. Get on over here, man.
I appreciate you. Yeah, man, thanks, bro. Jesus.